So can you tell me your name and where you're from?
Yeah, my name is Carl Chance and I am from Southampton in Hampshire. This is Winnie. Winnie's my almost 9-month-old Rottweiler. Since 8 weeks when I got her, she has pretty much been at work with me every day. She's a bit of a shadow, to be honest with you. Hence why she's here today. Look at her face.
What trade are you in? Like, how did you get into that?
So I'm a carpenter. Been a carpenter for almost 16 years now. Left school, done my apprenticeship. So basically, I never went to college, did my apprenticeship with some real sort of old school chippies. And eventually I was signed off all of my qualifications on site working and done it ever since. Been self-employed for probably about 10 years, yeah. A long time now, I've lost count how long it's been. Being self-employed for me, obviously, it's a lifestyle rather than a job. It literally takes over at times completely. We can charge our own prices, we can work our own hours, we can pick and choose our work if you're fortunate enough to be able to do that.
Can you remember like what drove you to become a carpenter? Was it like a defining moment? It's like, that's what I want to do.
I always wanted to have a job which was going to be creative, hands-on, and I wanted to be able to do something where I could build stuff for people and step back afterwards and be like, I did that. The only option from that really was carpentry. For me, I really quickly knew that that's what I wanted to do. Tolerances in my world are almost zero, and that's talking in millimeters. The finesse, I call it, and the accuracy you have to bring daily to your work, it's full on. Like, you've got to bring your A game every day. That was something that really did sort of entice me into the trade, because I always wanted to kind of push myself. I've always, from a young age, I've always wanted to, you know, like get somewhere with your career. It's one of them trades, in my opinion, where I'll always be learning. For example, I could be cutting in a roof one day. The next week I could be doing bespoke furniture. So my job includes first fix, so the structural stuff, the carcassing, all the stud work, the roofs, everything like that you see. The second fix, which is the stuff that once a house is built, that's the only stuff you see, because it covers all the first fix. So skirting boards, doors, kitchens, architraves. Something we call finals, which is once a house is pretty much built, we then do the finals, such as the door handles, hinges, latches.
What was your experience at school like?
I was actually quite academic. I came out of school with quite good GCSEs at the time. I don't know if they're still a thing. I was a little bit of a rogue in school, to be fair. I used to get in a little bit of trouble, not bad trouble, but stuff like on PE, I would just completely go and do my own thing, or on lunch we weren't supposed to leave, but I'd go through the woods, sneak over the fence and go and get myself fish and chips with a couple of my mates. Like, I was always doing stuff like that. Based on what I wanted to do, school wasn't really that important to me. It was just something I had to do.
Do you feel like things like maths and stuff has played a part in your role now with the fact that you've got such low tolerances and very detail orientated?
So in school, I loved maths. So geometry, Pythagoras theory, so calculating the hypotenuse of triangles to get your rafter length for roofing. I don't know whether this is like this secret chippy test that you all do, but if you go on site, you'll work with other chippies. Someone will ask a question like a number, subtract another number, and it will be like a competition who can answer it the quickest. And I've liked to think that I'm one of those ones that can be quite quick with answering a maths question. And that's something that's been really useful for me, I guess. And that's something really good I've taken from school.
What was your experience of having an apprenticeship?
It was that first moment that I really felt like, this is it. This is what I'm gonna be doing from now on. Like, I instantly felt comfortable with it. I saw a future with it. It was like that moment where all of a sudden you feel like you've kind of landed on your feet a little bit as well. So yeah, when I first got into my apprenticeship, it was, right, this is it. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna listen to every single thing that these guys teach me, no matter what I think of that. I'm gonna be a sponge on this, which I was, and I quickly picked it up. Half the tools, I knew what they were. I knew how to use them to a degree, and it was just right. It was just the right thing for me to do. Really, really decent point of my life was my apprenticeship days. They were great. I was so fortunate to be taught by those guys.
What's the thing that like really drives you as a carpenter?
It's very common nowadays for someone to give me a job, a residential customer, and they'll kind of say like, Carl, we don't know exactly what we want. We don't have a drawing. We have a kind of idea on the style that we like, and they'll kind of say, the job's yours, here's our budget. And it's then so important for me to deliver. It's kind of got to the stage now where the carpentry's kind of been put aside a little bit, and it's like now I've got to design things and I've got to come up with ideas, and I really try and learn about the customer before I take on a job. So I'll try and learn about like their personal style, what they like doing, what they wear, what their house already looks like. So then from that kind of gathering of information, it's then so important for me to be able to deliver something that they're gonna love and is worth their money. I would like to say it sets me apart.
What's the worst part of being a carpenter?
Cash flow in this business can be so difficult. I would say that carpentry is now the most expensive trade by far to get into. I could be wrong, but with the kit that I've got and the kit that I use almost daily, you need so much money to be able to spend at the start to do it. And blades, small things, fixings, it costs so much money. The more tools you've got, the more stuff you can do. If you like buying gear, be a chippy.
Is tool theft a big concern for you?
I have never been a victim to tool theft. I am quite fortunate in the sense that I am very, very secure with all of my stuff, and I've got an extremely good guard dog. I know that if someone took all of my stuff, I would really struggle to bounce back from that. The effects that would have on me would be like potentially, wow. I wouldn't even want to think actually, because we've got bills to pay every month. The impacts tool theft can have, obviously you've got that instant outlay of costs again to buy your kit. But for me, a lot of my tools I've used these tools for years. I know how these tools work. Like, this might sound crazy to someone who's not in carpentry, but my old hammer, had that hammer for years, to the point where it was molded to my hand. I can't go and buy that. I can't just go and get that from the shop tomorrow. It doesn't work like that. So I have built up kit, which technically is irreplaceable regardless of costs.
Is there anyone that's particularly inspired you in the trade, either currently or in the past?
The main inspiration I still have to this day are for the guys who taught me carpentry. If I ever need someone in carpentry to look up to in any way, that's the people for me, 100%.
Do you think there's a difference in the generations in terms of the amount of experience or the attention to detail?
Yeah, so I'm noticing a huge difference in the generations in the sense that carpentry's moved on. Carpentry now is so different to what carpentry was even 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago. So the new up and coming guys going to college, doing apprenticeships, learning, the majority of apprenticeships, to my understanding, are with big new homes developers. So they're learning that certain way of building a house. There's this kind of like delayed effect at the moment where the learning hasn't caught up with the reality of carpentry. You've got the old school chippies who, a lot of them I know who I work with, they're like, no, I'm not doing it that way. I'm doing it this way. This is the best way. But then you've got these like real up and coming young lads who have invested in themselves, invested in kit, and they're using all the modern tech, and they're good. Like, these young guys, there's not many of them that I know, but the ones I do are good, really, really good.
If you could invent a tool, what would it be?
It would be some sort of machine that could take on the heavy lifting. If I could have some sort of kit that would take take that away from me, firstly, I'm going to save a lot of time and energy instantly there, but our bodies, like, we're not getting any younger. That would be massive for us, prolonging, like, saving us getting out of bed and sort of crunching in the morning and stuff.
If you weren't a carpenter, what do you reckon you'd be?
Jobless. I have no idea what else I would do. I'd probably go a bit insane if I couldn't do this job, because it keeps me, I really think that this job is so good for my mental health, because it really keeps me level-headed, and it keeps me, like, you've got to work your brain, haven't you? It's healthy to do that, and without that, so I'd be jobless, probably depressed a little bit as well, and skint.
What advice would you give to people coming into the carpentry industry, like the new generation?
To the new generation, I would say invest in yourself as much as you can. If you can afford to buy a tool which is gonna make you a better carpenter, get the tool. If someone's trying to teach you something, even if you think you already know it, listen. Knowledge is power in this industry, and when you're learning, there's always so many ways to do the same thing in this job. Learn as many ways to do it as you can. Even if you already know a way, still learn the others, because you might need that one day.
Where can people follow you?
So if you want to see my journey, I am predominantly on Instagram. My handle is Chance1Carl. You can see all of my stuff on there. I like to showcase my work on there. I like to showcase the dog on there. Little tips and tricks which I find extremely helpful, and most importantly, I like to keep my content as original as possible on my page, so it hopefully sheds some light onto what I do every day.
Amazing. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.